Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Week 2, Day 2 of Academy LCS Summer 2021. I'll be your play-by-play caster for the day. You can call me Kangas. And Crumbs, it's been a long time since we've casted together. Happy to have you on the desk with me again, man.
It has been, Kangas, and you know what I love about this? We are a bearded duo. This is one thing that you rarely actually get. I don't know if you have cast someone with a beard in a while, but I don't remember. So
see, the problem is not enough color casters have a beard. I think that's a play-by-play thing. So we got the buff, but you got a little extra on top to help compensate. So I got to get mine a little longer. I actually might not be keeping this for much longer. Might go down to just the mustache. We'll see. I got a couple bets resting on that, but maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. Crumbs. This is Academy. This is the Developmental League for North America here, as all these players are trying for a shot in the actual core LCS. And I can't wait to get into the day of games and all the excitement ahead of us, because there's already a couple teams that are showing they got a couple of stud players on their rosters that are rising to the top. But before we get into all of that, the schedule, the teams that we'll be seeing today, let's take a look at what has happened so far throughout last week and this week, because we have our Samsung SSD Fast 5 segment here to cover. Now, Crumbs, I know that you got a chance to look at this ahead of time, so what are the key numbers that are standing out to you here?
I think the key one, because a jungler is always going to be looking at other junglers, you got the fact that both Contracts and Armada are tied in under 6 minutes, but Rosethorn being so far behind by just 4 seconds just tells me that it's actually getting really competitive in the jungle department. Junglers are figuring out how to just power clear, and it seems to be around the same time where they're clearing. Now that's where it's the closest. Then you go back down to the bottom lane and the bottom left of your screen. Team Luke is just soaring ahead. A 3-minute advantage over Sven out of all AD carries is actually a pretty significant lead. So we'll have to keep our eyes on Team Luke, who has been pretty good in a lot of games. He's got some very aggressive plays that sometimes cost him his own life, but when he can pull those off successfully, it looks really good for the team.
And I was actually casting the game that he got that gold lead. He was playing Tristana. That was his first ever game in Academy, Crumbs. First performance, and he gets a triple kill on Tristana and then a double kill on Tristana in a row. That was an absolute insane performance there. Also, I'm just going to say it right now, I don't think we're ever going to see anybody beat Diamond this entire split in fastest support item transformation. Sub 6 minutes is absolutely insane for that. But a lot of cool names, a lot of new names that we're seeing on the list. We'll have to see throughout the split who's able to take some of these top spots, because like you said, Team Luke and then Diamond, those are really tough to beat those specific numbers for those categories. So everyone's gonna be looking at that. But let's take a look at today's schedule now, Crumbs, because we got a couple of really fun games. The first one we're starting the day off with, I'm so excited for, 100 Thieves Academy versus Golden Guardians Academy. We'll get into a little bit why I'm so excited for that later. But then we got Team Liquid Academy versus Evil Geniuses and Immortals versus Dignitas. Now, if you have not heard yet, we also do have a secondary stream, Nerd Street LOL. Go check it out, twitch.tv/NerdStreetLOL, to catch Cloud9 versus CLG and FlyQuest versus TSM. Crumbs, what match are you most excited for today?
The same one you are, Kangas, the first one, because 100 Thieves is being touted as the strongest Academy team right now. They have shown some really dominating games. They've got some strategies copied down from the LCS squad. Maybe the LCS squad actually copied the Academy team. We don't know. We don't know about that just yet, but the fact is that they have been playing really well together with Kenvi in the jungle, with Luger in the bottom lane, putting him on a hyper carry and allowing Ryoma to play a supportive mid laner that can actually help both jungle and bottom. So you feed two birds with one scone with the Karma strategy, and it really works for 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves, their draft has been amazing to watch so far this split. They play so many different styles. They'll play aggressive junglers. They'll play the Kindred with a Lulu mid and the Braum support with a Jinx. Like, they'll go for late, they'll go for early, they'll go for playmaking, they'll go for kite back. Pretty much no matter what style, it feels like this team is comfortable playing it, and I think that really speaks to the identity of the players and how they've been developing under the 100 Thieves organization. Tenacity, Kenvi, and Poom have been with 100 Thieves for quite a while now, and these are names that we're expecting to be rising up to the LCS in the next split or two here. So if they can keep this kind of performance rolling in the summer, that is making a really strong argument for them. But now let's talk on the Golden Guardians side of things here, Crumbs, because this is another roster with a lot of developing names. We got Niles and Newbie coming in from the LCS, and they picked up one of their first wins earlier this week as an organization here in Academy. Still kind of struggling with their start, but I've seen a lot of rumblings of what could be a very strong team fighting team.
They've got some glimmers of hopes under the surface, and I think Rosethorn in particular is part of that hopeful cast of members on the Golden Guardians Academy. This jungler is capable of carrying some games. If you put him on a champion that is getting buffed up by the rest of the team, like we see from 100 Thieves, he actually is delivering. So I think that the Golden Guardians squad can index more towards the jungle pool as other teams are doing right now and find success, because sometimes you put too much eggs in your bot lane basket and it's just so easy to trip over and spill them. The jungle basket, it's a container, it's sealed properly, it's temperature control, it's not going to let these eggs crack easily.
And the biggest thing in that jungle matchup is the champion pool, the shared champion pool between Kenvi and Rosethorn. In particular, that Kindred. That's a champion that both these players love to grab, and I think we're going to see a lot of priority around that in Champion Select. So I'm happy you highlight the jungle, because when I look at these two teams, that's the biggest kind of similarity I can see in skill matchup, right? I think that Rosethorn and Kenvi are pretty evenly matched. And then the rest of the map, I'm kind of favoring 100 Thieves, so I'm going to be watching Rosethorn and see how well he can do, but I hear that the draft is ready, so we'll be hopping into that here shortly and figure out what Golden Guardian strategy is here, as they're facing down probably their hardest opponent of the summer split right now in 100 Thieves Academy. Coach Golden Glue on 100 Thieves on the blue side, Coach Think Card for Golden Guardians on the red.
Those might be my favorite words as a caster of all time, actually. The cast is ready. Brace yourself. We're about to go into the game, because the game starts at draft, right? Oh, so many times games are won or lost at this very stage. So yeah, you're not clicking, you're not testing your APM, but the communication that is so important inside the game starts here, and being able to develop a strong composition that each player really wants to play.
Exactly, and it ties us back to that point of the team identities, right? What do the teams want to play? 100 Thieves have a lot of flexibility. Golden Guardians, we've seen that they kind of play one style, and that's the old Golden Guardian style around Niles, trying to get him something aggressive in the top lane and then drafting around it. But already we're seeing some identity come through here. Let's quick catch up with what these teams are going for. 100 Thieves grab that Karma, very high priority. Golden Guardians answering with the Lulu and the Ezreal, very kite back style here.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is the 100 Thieves' current motto, as this is going to be more than 2 games in the same week of the Karma in the mid lane. Kenvi most likely will be playing the Sins out with it as well, giving us a throwback, saying that he really wanted to play a Kha'Zix in the post-game interview yesterday, but the reality is that Sin is just a much better pick right now, especially against the range of Lulu and Ezreal. Golden Guardians really aware that this was coming out, though, so they made a voluntary trade of the Karma for the Lulu and the Ezreal. So whether Lulu goes top, mid, or support, she will fulfill that same function, but it will be alongside an Ezreal to continue to kite back and not fall prey to the disengage that 100 Thieves can offer.
But that's the thing about the Lulu pick. We've seen it find success with things like the Kindred, things like the Jinx, these hyper-scaling 80 carries that can really, unleash damage if they're allowed to go forward in the late game. Ezreal, he's got a lot of his own kite bank, so I'm not fully convinced, but we'll see what Golden Guardians draft around that. The final pick here for Blue 3 from 100 Thieves, though, locking into Callista. This is an 80 carry that we have not seen a lot of recently, but still can bully a lane.
Yeah, this can be really obnoxious in the laning phase, because the Karma is still going to be flexed. We have not seen 100 Thieves put it anywhere but the mid lane, but you always have to respect that on the side of Golden Guardians Academy, so they have to draft with that in mind. They can't put themselves in a situation where you're drafting a lane that is not going to have kill pressure, that will be melee and will be easily abused by the Karma and Callista, who can be a menace in the lane, even if she isn't paired with a Karma.
And Yunbi, he still could be piloting that Lulu, but they can still hold that off, right? Now their focus is on those supports, because they're not fully convinced, like you said. Realma's been playing those enchanters, so you can still ban away the engaged supports. I think that's the big thing that they're lacking right now, is engaged. They got that Callista ultimate, but kind of want to pair that with a tank support that can actually follow that up. So we'll see what the other bans are. I wouldn't be too surprised if there's something like a Nautilus. But the final lock-in from Golden Guardians here is the Volley Bear. Now, this is something interesting to me as well, because this is also a flex pick. We're not quite sure where that's going.
It can go in the mid lane, as we now have learned from Hanwha Life. that Volibear can be just given to your favorite mid laner and suddenly it actually works. It's got good wave clear, good gank setup, so it depends on the matchup. But if Golden Guardians is feeling really experimental, they could go for that. The engage between Volibear and Lulu can actually be pretty deadly no matter where he goes. So there are various combinations that they're currently working with. It's just a matter of, would you actually want to go in when the Karma is buffing up the Xin Zhao with the Kalista and just being so relentless? My mind goes back to 100 Thieves yesterday when this combo popped off. It was just so difficult to deal with for the I believe it was, oh, I'm blanking. It was TSM.
TSM also struggling with the start of their year's, at least summer split here. So 100 Thieves having a pretty decent strength of schedule to start things off right now. We'll see if Golden Guardians can turn it around in their favor. They lock in that Leona, so they're picking a support right now, keeping that Volibear, and I guess technically the Lulu flexible. Not showing what the solo laners will be yet, but the answer from 100 Thieves. Wow, they lock in a Taric and a Set.
This comp just went from mildly annoying to unbelievably obnoxious in how it's going to be playing these team fights. This is really tough to deal with if it gets the ball rolling, because the dazzle from Taric will be really deadly on a Set that is flying across the air, on a Xin that is buffed up, plus the invulnerability, the shields, the heals. 100 Thieves is ready to just deathball and run past Golden Guardians, who have a good answer for champions that want to dive into you. The Gangplank can be a fine last pick here, but if he doesn't get far ahead in the lane, if he falls behind to the Set, if he's just farming away in the side lanes, trying to catch up, 100 Thieves have all the tools to run over the Golden Guardians.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this right now. I am heavily favoring 100 Thieves Academy's draft based on what they've gotten. The big question mark is going to be this bot lane. Can the Kalista actually get work done against the Ezreal? Because if you can't get on Ezreal, then the poke will come through. But you got a Taric, you got a Karma. That's a lot of shields and healing that will just kind of keep you alive through that poke regardless. And I just don't see Golden Guardians really having the damage to get through this heavy shield composition. But man, this is what the meta is right now, Crumbs. It's like, I described it before. It feels like rock, paper, scissors in 5 dimensions in every single lane, right? Like everything's countering everything, and it's so hard to actually definitively say which composition is going to come ahead here.
And in every single one of those dimensions, Karma is still present. She is making her way across so many regions now. She isn't always being first picked or prioritized. Some people are really just foregoing the pick altogether and instead are able to play these really difficult to execute assassin compositions. Akali still making her way across the globe. So if the teams aren't finding a player that can truly execute consistently on these picks, you can just rely on Karma and have such a safer and easier to execute composition. The one downside is you don't actually get playmaking from the mid lane. You have to constantly stay grouped. But if you're also going to be going with an enchanter in the mid laner, then that disadvantage is entirely null.
Well, Crumbs, we're loaded onto Summoner's Rift for Game 1 of your Week 2, Day 2 Summer LCS broadcast for Academy 2021. 100 Thieves on the blue side, Golden Guardians on the red right now. We have very, very interesting compositions here based on the current meta. And I feel like every week we see something new. This time around, it's the Taric plus the Kalista. At least this is new for me. I don't know if anybody in Twitch chat, there's probably a couple people like, I've seen this before. I know exactly what it does. Well, hey, let us know. Let us know what to expect here. And let's start talking about that ourselves, Crumbs, because when we look at these comps, I'm seeing a lot of split identity and a lot of different focus of options of what they could be doing in the early game. So if we had to get a little predictive right now, start thinking about options, I'm just struggling to see what's Kenvy's best move from a 100 Thieves perspective for this jungle early jungle pathing.
So he is starting in the bot side, so he will end in Tenacity's lane. And since Niles wants to play aggressive with his Q against Tenacity, there is an opportunity to actually gank this Gangplank. That would be my first guess as to where Kenvi wants to go. And if that's not possible, then going towards the mid lane. Depending on how Ryoma plays with the minion wave, Yunbi can find himself overextended, and the mid 2v2 of Karma and Xin Zhao early game is one of the strengths of this draft. So playing to it would be a great opportunity to get ahead.
100 Thieves getting aggressive in the bot lane. I think we're seeing how they want to play this lane. This is what Kalista does. Playing aggressive, playing up, and getting trades against Prismal and Newbie. But going back to your point there about the Karma plus Xin Zhao combo, that's what I see this Lulu Volibear almost as the answer to, right? Because I've been struggling to think, what jungler really beats the Xin Zhao early on? And, I mean, maybe Golden Guardians are saying that they think it's the Volibear.
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying as well, but I'd like to see it. I want to see it happen, though, because Karma and Xin offer a lot of synergy that isn't nearly as dependent on the items. Now, the advantage Lulu has is that she actually has a significantly more powerful crowd control tool. Whimsy is actually really good versus the Tether from Ryoma, which just keeps you in place. So I'd like to see how this actually plays out if it comes down to a 2v2, except right now, so much of the meta is, can you just make it to the fight first? Doesn't matter so much if your champion is really strong. If you just got those extra seconds or even 2 seconds of damage before your opponent, you're gonna win it anyways.
If you can just shove the wave and join up with your jungler first, which here we see, ooh, Rosethorn almost got in trouble there. Because, yeah, Ryoma has been controlling this wave, right? It's been Yunbi shoved in as the Lulu, doing a decent job of catching it. Interesting to know that both mid lane enchanters took Dark Seal. Maybe a little ambitious, but I like the style regardless. Not a lot of action happening early on into the game, though, Crumbs, so I want to take this opportunity to set some expectations. Where do we think the first action will occur? Are we looking at dragon stacking teams? Are we looking at side split pushing teams? What's really the identity and the win condition for each of these squads right now?
I think the action will probably happen around the junglers pathing towards each other. It seems like their routes continue to match themselves, as now the Xin is going to the top side, and so is Rosethorn. Here comes the gank on GP, but Volibear is right behind him to cover. If he gets past that ward, it won't happen, but if he lays right here, this could be a great opportunity. Oh, they saw him.
I think it was spotted. Yeah, they should know that Rosethorn's up there. But Niles is still taking some chunk right now. Kenvy's going in. They still think that they got the gank. They got a lot of burst damage, and Niles is just going to get blown up. He's still alive, just barely longer flashes away. Rosethorn chasing down Kenvy and will get first blood for Golden Guardians. Ryoma roams up from the mid lane. Flash Q to guarantee another kill. But now Rosethorn in a 1v1 against Nazi. He gets a double kill. Rosethorn putting in work for the Guardians.
This Thunder Bear is really bringing the pain. I didn't think he'd be able to 1v2 that, but he really pulled it out of his hat. 2-0. It was the Sheen purchase that made the entire difference. He got to base before that play. Kenvy was still on his first instance on the map. He had no new items, so Rosethorn being able to get that scuttle bottom and make it all the way top gave him the item advantage to actually win that fight.
Really smart pathing from Rosethorn, seeing, okay, Niles is pushed in. I know that they're going to go for the gank. And presumably 100 Thieves saw him up there, still went for it. But I like that the gold went over to Rosethorn. This Volibear now in the Xin Zhao matchup should have much more of an advantage here. We'll see what he actually spends that gold on, because hasn't opted for a back yet, but this could flip that jungle matchup completely on its head.
Yeah, I think it would. He is just going to feel fearless in being able to take down Xin Zhao wherever he finds him in the jungle. And Ryoma did burn summoners to get the kill onto Niles. So there is a chance that if a 2v2 happens in the mid lane, it actually will go the way of Golden Guardian. So let's see how this played out again, because they did spot him, right? He walks by here. There is a question mark ping, but Niles is so low. They're really tempted by this. He spends mana. They think he doesn't have oranges, but a really good use of the biscuit from the gangplank, baits him in, has the mana to pop those oranges, and then he's just so much stronger. Here, Niles should have just kept walking on one side, could have prevented that death from happening, but at the very least, since Ryoma was not close to the set, she's not able to shield him and keep him alive.
Really close play on the top side. They almost had Niles, but not quite. The guild goes over to Golden Guardians, but 100 Thieves now with priority around this dragon objective, so they will start this one up. No vision from Golden Guardians. They might know what's happening, but not in a position to contest. So objective picked up 400 Thieves. Happy to see that they're not just giving up tempo on the map, but instead still trying to make these proactive plays. They still have to put mid lane. They did go over to Ryoma on the Karma. So it does back get the component item and then also the 2 stacks on Dark Seal. So Karma can push that mid lane even harder now.
Yeah, and that Karma her ability to shove out and roam will be really helpful in accelerating what 100 Thieves wants to do, which now will have to involve the bottom lane. It's going to be Luger who's getting a slow advantage just farming against Prismal. And at level 6, the dives with the Taric are really easy to execute against Prismal. Yeah, it's an Ezreal, but you have so much mobility and crowd control that you can actually take him down despite the cleanse. You also have a Gangplank ultimate that couldn't defer it, but he's so busy fighting up here, he'll have to save it to take the fight against Tenacity.
Feels like Niles is actually doing a really good job against this set, though, right? I mean, this was the counter pick that they opted for, and he's not, you know, mountainously ahead in CS. They're pretty much even, but that's good for the Gangplank. He can scale up. He takes a little bit to come online. He's actually teleporting as Rosethorn comes up here for a gank. They're really trying to put the pressure on Tenacity and shove this lane in.
And they're playing really smart around the waves for Niles because he bases knowing that the river is entirely exposed, so he needs cover. What does Rosethorn do as a result? He meets him in the top lane. He just shadows him, allows him to teleport back, crash the wave, and now they can go for the Rift Herald in combination with Yunbi shoving out the mid lane. So 100 Thieves will have to contest this without Tenacity being there because he's too busy last hitting creeps.
Yeah, I don't think that they even should go for this. Canby jumps in. He tries to get the smite steal away, but does not. Rosethorn has to ult back over the wall, but that is Rift Herald over to Golden Guardians. 100 Thieves went for the contest. That was a bold move. I'm kind of surprised that they get more punished for it.
Yeah, and Golden Guardians had an advantage there. It's a 3-on-2. You have the Gangplank ultimate to Lulu, but crucially, in the mid lane was Poom and Luger making their way there. So it would have been a big risk to try to take that fight, knowing that the Taric and Kalista would soon arrive as reinforcements. So instead, they just recognized, we got the Rift Herald. There's no need to risk it. We're happy with this position. Let's just back off.
That was time that Luger spent roaming to the mid lane, but not even feeling it right now. Still up 30 CS up over Prismal. So this Kalista pick is putting in work for 100 Thieves as we're watching mid lane constantly shoved in. Yunbi really struggling in the mana department to hold this lane. And that is plays going over to the Karma. If they 100 Thieves can break this mid turret early on here, that's pretty huge for them. But thankfully for the Golden Guardians, they're the ones that picked up that Rift Herald. So now I'm starting to think, where do they want to drop this? Because early on, with plates still on the table, that's just free gold in your pocket. But where do they really want to put that gold?
I think you can drop it in the bottom lane. Just getting the Ezreal back some gold for the rough early lane would be so helpful for this squad. Top lane, Niles is doing a fine job, and Rosethorn has given so much attention. And in the mid lane, Lulu with a single item, or even two, is just going to be at a full build. You don't want to ask her for much more than that. Prismal just shifts out.
Was able to get away. Slippery on that Ezreal, hard to lock down like you had highlighted before. And we haven't seen these big plays come through yet, Crumbs. We're 10 minutes into the game. Just a couple skirmishes, couple ganks, but now Rosethorn losing his flash. That's pretty impactful here. Well done from Ryoma. Karma mid lane getting the summoner spell out of Rosethorn. This allows Canby to get much more aggressive if he's looking for any jungle invades.
A good flash there out of Rosethorn. I thought that if he didn't pull that off, he was certainly dead. There was a Taric and a Xin Zhao following right behind through the river with their long range of the spear. They would have easily connected onto Volibear, who didn't have ultimate. Would have loved to use the ultimate to disengage from that, but it's a long cooldown, and he just used that to escape the Rift Herald.
So still no big plays happening yet, but there's also no crazy large objectives on the map currently. We do see Dragon coming up in another 45 seconds. Maybe Golden Guardians try and contest that one, because the last one did go over to the 100 Thieves for free. But they are still playing a very slow game. I think that when you look at their scaling, they're comfortable with the slower game too. They don't feel like they need to put the pressure on because they're dealing with the Kalista, they're dealing with the Xin Zhao champions that will fall off eventually. So if Golden Guardians can just maintain this kind of even gold state into the next 10, 15 minutes, they'll probably be in a pretty comfortable position as we start to see their item spikes coming online.
They will be fine. If they can stop the bleeding of the bot lane, though, it is getting out of hand down there. The CS that Luger is building is just slowly getting bigger and bigger, and even though Ezreal can be a menace in the late game, if Kalista just starts getting enough lifesteal items before the Ezreal can really start to poke, she could just face tank you and continue to lifesteal through the minion waves, through the team fight. So Prismal needs to be farming a bit better. The team of Golden Guardians has to protect this lane and allow the Ezreal to not fall further behind, or else Kalista can just take over a game like we've seen this pick do so many times before.
And because of the pressure Luger's putting on, they have constant pressure on the bot side, which means another dragon going over to 100 Thieves. Golden Guardians are not contesting these as of yet. But it's, like you said, hard to do, right, against this Kalista, who is very fed right now. That is 40 CS up over their lane opponent. As the completed boots and the Moon Quiver, we'll be getting towards that completed mythic item relatively soon. And we actually, Rosethorn dropping the Rift Herald just right in the river. I wasn't watching to see if that was about to expire soon or if that was just a misclick, but either way, not the best use. Luger going aggressive on a Prismal to get the knockup. The stun follows. He does cleanse, and Newbie's actually locking out Luger very well. Prismal will die to the Ignite, though. Can Luger turn it back onto Newbie? Newbie under turret. Gangplank ult did not turn the play, but now Newbie's trying to jump in onto Luger. Very low health on the Kalista, but he's outside the turret range, and life stealing right back up. They get a kill, they get out scot-free.
The Rift Herald was the cue for 100 Thieves to engage. The second that gets popped in top river, they know Volibear is not going to make it. They know they have free reign to dive the bottom lane, and they execute really well on that. Flashing forward, extending the range of Fate's Call. There wasn't much that Prisma could do to avoid that one, and that just gets the Kalista even further ahead. Now that Prisma has no summoners, he's a sitting duck if they want to attempt that any other time.
And look at the item difference on the bot side now. Luger with that back picks up the completed shield bow. That is a massive item disparity between Prismal and Luger here. So all summoner spells blown for that play means that there's now targets on every bot laner's back. But let's take another look at that play. Just see how confident they are to go for this.
He is 2 levels up. We're going to have to take a closer look at this game to see exactly how it went down that Luger got so far ahead out of Prismal in this lane, because from what we saw, it felt like they were just 2v2ing. It was even 100 Thieves who got the opportunity to lane. So somehow they must have started to deny Prismal and Newbie and prevented them from getting access to the wave and start building such a giant lead.
That lead will be really difficult for the Guardians to come back from. The only kind of counter you can say is that at least they have Niles in the top lane on the Gangplank, who's got a comfortable lead over the set pick, and also the fact that Rosethorn was able to get those 2 early kills. But eventually they'll need to deal with this fed Kalista, and I don't know exactly how they plan to do so. The stacking is still going forward for 100 Thieves. They're doing a really good job of controlling this early game. Again, it's a pretty low action game, right? Still only 4 kills, but that might change right now as Newbie just goes all in onto Luger. I said without summoner spells, you're in danger. And what do you do but push in the bot lane? Kill goes over to Golden Guardians.
Really good gank there out of Rosethorn. Yunbi is like, oh, maybe I should have thought of helping. Now I'm stuck in the river. He needs help to help him out, but they don't have Rosethorn's ultimate.
Oh, but here's a re-engage coming in from 100 Thieves. They're trying to jump on a Yunbi, but that's a Lulu. She can ult herself. Now they say, okay, no ult anymore. Let's jump on a Rosethorn. Let's get on the bear. Let's just burst him down. He doesn't have enough shielding, and we have way too much damage. This Xin Zhao with double supports behind him is an absolute menace. Kenzie is just running down Golden Guardians, and they have 0 response. He's got the Karma shields, the Dark stuns, heals for days, and Kenvi gets 3.
Golden Guardians walked into that one. They knew they were there, but they thought they could still take the fight. They were so wrong, though. Without Volibear ultimate, it wasn't even close. Maybe even if he had it, it wouldn't have been close with how far ahead can be pulled off from that play. It looked like there was never a chance for them to lose that 2v2. They're so darn strong with the Karma shield. The poor Lulu had to ult herself. Volibear got left by himself. And there was just no way out. Poor Prismal got run down at the end of that play. He's just sitting there trying to farm. He's now falling even further behind out of a play he had no business even seeing.
It's like, that wasn't even my 80 carry that got ahead of me. That's just the jungler. It all started with Golden Guardians going for this play, which, to their credit, they do pull off, right? This was, I think, overextending from Luger and Poom. They didn't have summoner spells, they didn't have enough pressure around the bottom river, and they pushed too far forward, but then the extended plays where the Thieves bring it back.
It was a really good look, but then here, they're not even fully grouped to actually engage onto this, so Xin does so much, and Yunbi uses his ultimate really early. Right? He doesn't understand the damage that Kenvi can pump out, so ulting himself at half HP, leaves the Volibear left for dead, and Prismal's just shifting over, hoping he can escape as he was just trying to shove out the bottom wave, but that puts him right into the spear of Kenby. And
this
now
is
it doesn't
the most
stop.
Kenby comp I've ever seen, Crumbs. He's going for Niles next. Nobody is safe on Summoner's Rift from this Xin Zhao. He almost goes down for it. Doesn't quite get the kill on Niles, but does get the flash out. Kenby with double supports around him. This is one of the more terrifying things I think I've ever seen in Academy, Crumbs. Kenby's looking unstoppable right now.
Protect the Xin Zhao comp. Now this is something I can bet behind. It's no longer a Karma comp, it's actually a Xin Zhao comp, because now you actually aren't relying on a hyper carry to get you past the early game and carry you late game. You just rely on the jungler. You just follow him everywhere, and since he dictates so much of the pace of the game, it can just be incredibly oppressive when he gets going, as absolutely no lane and no objective don't currently belong to the 100 Thieves.
And this just fits so well with Kenby's playstyle. We've always known him as a jungler that likes his lanes to answer him rather than him to answer his lanes. And I mean, you can't really get much more than that than the composition that they've drafted, other than, I guess, Apes Nasty, who's kind of been on an island in that top lane so far. But it's really working for the Thieves. This is the look of them in the summer, and it is looking good. They're 5-1 in the standings currently, and they really want to separate themselves from Cloud9 Academy and Team Liquid Academy, right? They have this opportunity to really pull ahead here with a relatively easy week schedule. They've so far only lost a single game to Cloud9 Academy, which is one of their top competitions in the league right now. And if this is the level of play that they're bringing us, I think that they might make quick work right now. They got 3 dragons stacked up and a pretty decent gold lead at 4,500. Now starting to break these outer turrets. And it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better for Golden Guardians. He's still in the side lane. Doesn't have the flash this time around. He's trying to 1v1 Kenby, but the teleport from Ryoma is too much. Needs to get another pick in the side lane.
It might have actually been closer for Niles, but it's never going to be Kenby 1v1ing you. Even if the fight starts with just him, there's going to be a Karma right behind him, shielding him, assisting him, keeping him alive, speeding him up, giving everything that Xin Zhao wants to be able to continue to go in and be relentless with his attack. This composition is really getting out of hand now because the side laners are just scrambling to shove out minion waves, but their turrets keep getting taken. That'll push them further into their own side of the map, and that opens up the jungle for 100 Thieves to take this onslaught into the rest of the map.
Exactly. Breaking that bottom turret's actually pretty big because that means that the next dragon's going to be even easier for the Thieves to control, right? They can shove in that bot wave. It goes all the way up there. Drop your vision down as they already have, but that's still 2 minutes, 45 seconds away, so Golden Guardians have a short window right now where there really isn't a big objective to fight over. Maybe they can look for picks, maybe they can look for some kind of play on the opposite side of the map because they are running out of options.
And it feels like every team that has played against this comp runs out of options around this time when this Xin is fed and starts grouping up, but they're finding something in the brush that Tenacity wisely pops the sweeper, sees it, and waits for the squad to be nearby. Now he has Tarek and Kenby right behind him so they can be aggressive.
Now they're just forcing the engage. What an engage from Tenacity onto Yunbi. No hesitation. Stride breaker forward. Pulls him in with a face breaker. And then the showstopper. But now Luger in a 1v2 situation by himself. Prism. Oh, that missing shot was so close. Not quite enough though. Rose Thorn has to pop the ultimate to get away from the Xin Zhao plus double support combo. But now they say, okay, well, he got away. Let's go to the next target. Let's jump onto Niles. We know that he doesn't have flash still. Another pickup for the Thieves. And it's just anywhere Kenby looks, Golden Guardians cannot be there. They have no business being anywhere on the map that Kenby exists.
It's so sad because he moves really fast and is looking everywhere. So you just can't afford to even be half a screen away from him. He's getting so much support from the team. I felt like Frizzle and Niles had to commit to take down Luger. There is just not another play available for them. And if 100 Thieves get this Baron, it feels like it's gonna be lights out. This composition is just steamrolling. Once they hit that single item spike with the Karma having the speed up with Xin Zhao and his Divine Thunder, it's just ridiculous how much damage he does when he goes in.
Shirelia's, the Chemtech Future Fire on Realm as well, plus 12 stacks of the Mejai's. So she's also packing a punch, by the way. That Karma also hurts. And now we're hitting other big item power spikes as we see 100 Thieves going for the reset. They back it Gwinsu's Rage Blade onto Luger, and Kenvi picks up that Wits. And yeah, you said lights out, and I'm going to have to agree with you, Crumbs. I'm not seeing any more options for Golden Guardians at this point other than just hope and pray that 100 Thieves make some silly mistake and that maybe your scaling can come online, but the chances of that happening are so low that it's just up to 100 Thieves how easily, how cleanly can they close this one out.
This composition just feels mistake-proof. How can you mess up if all it takes is just press all your buttons on Kenvi, and he barely has any skill shots?
And Rosethorn was like, okay, I found Kenvi. Thankfully, he didn't have the supports with him, but now the supports say, okay, well, now it's our turn to show up and join the fight. Realm was chasing him down, but now Yunvi has shown up. Needs to pop his own Shirelias just to keep Rosethorn alive. Like, Golden Guardians can't go into their jungle. There's just no chance that they run away from this comp without burning flashes, without burning ultimates, and that means a free Dragon Soul over to 100 Thieves Academy.
Not even close to a fight for this. Not even close to an attempt for vision for Golden Guardians. Nobody can leave the base. Nobody can even think about how to execute these team fights. There just isn't enough damage for anybody to touch this Sin out. His ultimate makes it so that the range DPS that you're hoping to get from Prismal is basically nullified, and the melee picks just can't get past the shields, the resistances, and heals that the supporting crew of Karma and Tarek are offering this Sin. It's just caught between a rock and a hard place, and it's just getting tighter and tighter for Golden Guardians.
This is one of those games where if you're a top laner, you're probably sympathizing with Tenacity right now. Like, okay, thanks for winning the game, team. I'm just going to kind of do my thing in the side lane. Keep putting pressure. Hey, you got a turret this time. There we go, Tenacity. You're participating in the game now. But, I mean, all the eyes have been on Kenvi, right? Like, it's the Karma Tarek roaming around with Xin Zhao. So now how do 100 Thieves want to close this one out? They're just trying to poke down Prisma Yunvi as Golden Guardians spot their own Shirelias. Maybe looking for the engage themselves, not finding it, which means that the Baron waves will start taking out these turrets.
And they're really well synchronized too. This a cannon in the bot lane, Tenacity's pushing top, and they're going after Niles.
He's dead. He's got to flash away. Okay, maybe Yunvi can keep him alive. Now the rest of Golden Guardians go for the engage. Tenacity carries Rosethorn away from Kenvi. Don't find the kill. Don't find an extended play, but they do push Golden Guardians back. So 100 Thieves will take down this middle inhibitor, and Luger does want more. He's running so far forward. Look at how aggressive he's playing on the Callista. This is kind of silly. This is kind of ridiculous, and he's getting away with it too. Niles says, maybe not for long though. I really want to punish this. Prismal's flashing forward. They can chase down Realm, but they can chase down Luger. 100 Thieves with a hubris galore. Bite off more than they can chew, and they will be punished for it. Luger falls.
It does come at a steep cost, though. They lose that double inhibitor, and now they want to get more. They feel like they need to make the most out of this situation, but it's Sin, and there's still a Tarek.
Yeah, it's still Tarek on top of Kenvi. He jumps over the wall, but there's no damage. It can't get through him fast enough. Darkgold comes down. Golden Guardians reeling from this now as they find themselves stuck in their own jungle. Niles and Newbie trying to reposition, trying to get behind Yunvi. Prismal's doing work over the wall. If the Ezreal can keep poking, he jumps over. Prismal might just be able to carry this one, but 100 Thieves are too strong. A double kill to Ryoma. Kenvi picks up a triple, and that's going to be game. 100 Thieves Academy just decimating the Golden Guardians with a unique team composition, but one that plays to their strengths, and they're making it look easy, Crumbs.
I think this might be the last time we see this squad get this, because Golden Guardians was attempting to counter it, and it did not look like an attempt at all. It was not close. This was just a slaughter from start to finish between this squad. They even lost the first 2 kills, but once they got the ball rolling, Xin and Karma were unstoppable. This is exactly why the main squad is prioritizing this big. This must be how their scrims have been going.
Yeah, they clearly have an idea of how they want to play League of Legends in summer of 2021, Crumbs, because this is a style that not a lot of teams are playing, and not every team is finding success with that does play it. I think that's another important thing to specify here, is that we don't know exactly where this meta evolved from, which teams were playing it first, who kind of developed that in the scrim culture, but 100 Thieves are clearly coming out ahead in this department. That Karma is flexible for them. It's very strong for them. They also play the Lulu, it's like, how do you even deal with this team in pick and ban at this point?
I think you just have to play mid laners that have a lot of control and team fighting power that can actually stop it dead in its tracks. If you want to deal with it and you feel like you can't ban it out, you're just gonna have to play champions that have so much agency for themselves that you can split apart 100 Thieves before they start to group up, because clearly when they get that one item power spike and start team fighting, they become unstoppable. So you got to split them out. You have to have members in the side lanes that can hold their own and pressure 100 Thieves to not be constantly grouped up.
Well, 100 Thieves find themselves up 1-0 in this best of 2 series. They're hoping to end their weekend strong here and really differentiate themselves from the rest of the pack at the top. Golden Guardians looking to pick up their 2nd win of the summer split. They got one against Evil Geniuses yesterday, but 100 Thieves are looking like an entirely different level of competition. We're going to send it over to a short break before we're back with more LCS Academy action. You're not going to want to miss it, so don't go anywhere.